So I just invite us to take a nice deep breath, stretch our bodies. Oh, yes. Make any kinds of sounds you would like to make.
And then
Take a nice deep breath. Yeah. And what we're going to invite you to do, Mary and I, is to take off the backpack. And what we mean by the backpack is the backpack of present incidents or issues or cares or worries that may be on your shoulders, and also any past incidents that might be weighing you down a little. For today's time, we're just going to ask that you gently let go of the backpack. And so I'm just going to invite you to join with me and just lift the backpack up off your shoulders, right? And put it to the side. And put it to the side. Because that gives us an opportunity to just be totally present, totally here for ourselves, with ourselves. And gives us the chance to honor our ancestors and celebrate our life. We are so grateful each and every one of you is here. So grateful. And does everyone know everyone? Or shall we do a little quick introduction? Because we're perfect size.
I'm Chris Miller.
Hi, Chris Miller.
Hello, Chris.
Hi, Rick.
And we're talking about favorite places to rejuvenate in nature. Favorite places to rejuvenate in nature.
Okay, Ella, it's your turn.
Alla, welcome.
My turn. Okay.
Yes.
My name is Ala. My favorite place, I think, is Hawaii water.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Anywhere in the water. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
I said, did you have a favorite island?
I like Maui and I like Big Island. I also like what's the other one? The smaller one with all the roosters.
Lanai?
No.
Molokai?
Hawaii.
Hawaii. Yeah, Kauai, I believe.
Beautiful.
Hawaii.
Yeah. I liked it, but I just didn't have maybe I just didn't have a good trip. But yeah, I think Maui. Yeah.
Wonderful. Lynn, what about you?
Well, today I had a lot of burdens, so I drove to the Los Gatos Cemetery near where Joe is buried, and I found some shady grass and walked up and down asking him what to do. I actually enjoyed it over there.
Yeah. It's a very peaceful place.
It is.
And that is a little bit about what tonight is about, is connecting with our ancestors and making that golden bridge, as it were, to be able to access their wisdom and their support. So this is great. Corky, does everyone know you?
Yes, I do believe so.
And I'm guessing that by by your screen behind you, we can guess where your favorite place is.
Yes, where there's a nice breeze. Yeah, I like I said, I lived in Hawaii for a while, and that was wonderful. And but living in the mountains where you can smell the pine and be in the snow and be in the and there's a nice breeze. Usually breezes there too. It's I like it where it's peaceful, and people want to peacefully coexist and be express themselves in their art or however they want to. But I like it when people are nice to each other. That's my favorite.
Yay. Beautiful. And of course, our Tom and Mary.
We spent a lot of nights in Thailand, Kona, and Kona side, and that's all the flowers, the small one.
Not hearing you completely.
We're not hearing you, Mary.
Not hearing you very well.
Okay, I'll lean into the microphone. How's that?
That's it.
Ah, there's our beautiful voice. Wonderful.
Just reminiscing about the beauties in Hawaii. We used to go there all the time. Yeah.
And there you can go to a mountaintop and actually be near the ocean, all in one little island.
Well, I love the volcano.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's mesmerizing. That energy. Whew.
Absolutely.
If you're tired of being peaceful, you can go there.
So welcome to each and every one of you. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Janet Childs, and I'm honored to be a part of the UCM family. And I work at the Center for Living with Dying program, which provides grief counseling. And I'm so grateful that we are having this time together. And I'd like to hand it over to Mary for a minute to introduce herself. She's amazing, and so is Tom.
Tom and I are both ministers at the Universal Church of the Master. Tom ordained me, and actually ordained Janet and Lynn. And actually, now that I look at the crowd,
Oh, yeah.
and that's kind of our spiritual life as we've gotten older has become a greater part of our life. And I used to work as a nurse in the hospital. And then I worked inside corporations and provided health services for them there. And my last job before retiring, I'll be 80 next month. So my last job before retiring was at Hewlett Packard. And I managed the claims for them, workers' compensation and liability, that kind of thing. That's me.
And Mary is an amazing channel, amazing channel of the spirit, an amazing everything. She does so many things well. It's incredible.
I am a devotee of the Great Mother, and then in my heart and mind, it's the Great Mother in Christianity and Kuan Yin in Eastern religions, and that's all the same power of the Mother, Divine Feminine in the world. So.
I'm on the same.
Actually, he opened the cage, and then I jumped up.
And Tom is absolutely magnificent. He's ordained most of us in this room, right?
Right. Long ago, in the.
That's right.
Well, that's just because I came across the path early, and we decided that there were so much in common that we held that we joined together as a result of that. But it's been wonderful.
I can see
Mary and I did Sunday services publicly for 18 years. That was very.
Then we turned it over to Dottie. I mean, actually, Dottie started it on her own, but it fortunately coincided with our leaving and her starting, so it was great.
And we are so lucky.
We can see Tom's eyes, but not everything.
Because Tom has a lower chair, and I was looking around for something he could sit on, but it was getting a little complicated. So I'll stand up so you get a full view. But later.
It's Tom Kilgore. Like a
Yeah,
little bit.
right. Yeah, no.
There we go. So with your permission, I'm going to share the screen, and we can still see each other even when the PowerPoint is on. Is that all right with everybody?
Sure.
Okay. And if anyone has difficulty with with the share screen, let me know. Okay. All righty. There, can everyone see?
Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
Perfect. And can you see each other?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Unless I do
Perfect.
now. I don't know.
I can't see anybody else, but
Can you see? I'm hoping you, because I can see all of you now, even though
we,
the
but we can,
PowerPoint is there. Can
we can
you?
see, no, but we can see you, and that's what counts.
Okay. So Mary and I wanted to create the safe environment for us to take time out to really acknowledge all that we are going through in these challenging times, and
Oh.
also all that we can do for and with each other to connect with our ancestors. And because it is the season of year it is, as we near fall and as we are in fall, in the autumn season, it's amazing because many holidays happen around this time. And one that I have had the privilege of learning a little bit about, even as a gringa woman, is Dia de los Muertos. It used to be Dia de Muertos. And we are not pretending to know anything about this holiday, but we're using it as a springboard to talk about how and where and in what way we can connect with our ancestors. And so I'm just so tickled and glad that we are all here together, honoring that. And one of the things that is often seen at Dia de los Muertos is the decorated calaveras, the skulls, which are the symbol of our closeness with death and actually our connection with those who have died. And so we're just going to talk tonight about the different aspects of how we can connect and how we can bring meaning to that connection and how we can revive it, especially when we're in pain or in struggle. So we want to start off, if it's okay with everyone, with the lighting of the candle. And what that lighting of the candle symbolizes is just the light that is in us, the light that is in our heart, the light that is in, our lives that we can call upon. And many times, La Virgen de Guadalupe, the Blessed Mother of Guadalupe, her candle is often lit on the ofrendas, on the altars for a Day of the Dead, but also in many different traditions and ways, we bring in that Blessed Mother. So with your permission, I'm going to ask if we can light the candle. Is that all right?
Yes.
Everybody okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Alla. I thought we lost you. I'm going, oh no.
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect, perfect. And there she is lit. And just breathe in that light. Know that we are each other's light. And that embarking on this wisdom circle journey that we are doing tonight, we invoke the light and the love that never dies. And so we're going to put her over here for now. And when you need to see her in the screen, just let me know. But those of you that know me know that I'm incredibly clumsy. And so if I'm flailing around with my arms, I'm going to knock the candle. All right. We are in what we call 360 grief right now. With the natural disasters we are living through, the fires, the hurricanes, COVID-19 has totally changed the way we do life now. Racial equity and justice issues are dealing with climate change. All of these have become pandemics, as we call them. And one of the best ways that we can support each other is to acknowledge how every area is affected our entire life is impacted in a deep and personal and also in a community way. And that if we acknowledge the magnitude, we can all share it and hold it together. And that's what the ancestors help us to do, is to do that in a beautiful way. And when we share the experience, we are lightening the load for each other. And then we can tend and befriend with each other and with our ancestors. And what this creates is a balance in our life that can help us get through this marathon by breaking it up into several small sprints. And one of those sprints can be a sprint to the other side, a sprint to the other world, to make connection with our ancestors. So I just invite you, to, as we have released our backpacks of worries and cares, that you really allow yourself to be here in this moment, in this present time, just becoming aware of how powerful this time is, this time of year is, and that we ask, that we invoke all that is good, all that is powerful, all that is healing in this moment to be with us. And we give great thanks for the presence of all of your hearts, for the presence of all of your gifts tonight to this time. As we tend and befriend, a wonderful scientist out of Stanford, Kelly McGonigal, has proven that the best way to heal stress and to bring meaning to it is by tending and befriending with each other. And that's her term. And it's all about connecting with each other and making those connections that help us get through moment by moment, day by day. But we wanted to acknowledge, Mary and I both did, it's hard being on Zoom. We would normally be together in our circle. We would be, able to be near each other physically. So thank you for keeping your videos on, because that helps us to connect with you, each and every one of you, and helps us to connect with each other. So just want to acknowledge all of that is taking place right now. So in a pandemic, and we're in a pandemic, as we say, we have lots of issues that come up. And those issues, I think when we acknowledge them, can be something that unifies us as a community, as a world. And so we just invite you to take tonight to acknowledge that all of these are maybe difficult. The invisible threat, especially, I think is so hard. And we don't know when it will end. So it's so good that we're doing this connection piece today. So I'll just say one last thing about pandemic fatigue, and that is that it can be very wearing, because 24/7, we are aware that we are living in circumstances that are very different than what we used to have. And so what happens is that it can erode at our resiliency. We can forget the resources we have. We can have to get to those resources in a different way. And that's why I'm so proud that we are all on Zoom thinking about connecting with the ancestors, because it's just very powerful how we can do that in a beautiful way. And so I'm just going to invite us to take a nice deep breath again. Feel yourself totally here, and know that when you hug yourself, you're hugging me. And when I hug you, I'm hugging me too. And we just want to remember that we have to physically distance, but we don't have to socially distance. And so give yourself a hug. And in giving yourself a hug, it's a hug that goes out to the world, wherever you want it to go. Wherever you want it to go. It's that hug. And then you can feel actually the sensation of receiving a hug just by doing that simple action. And so we have to physically distance for our own health and safety and wellness, but we do not have to socially distance. And so this is our deeper connection that we can make. All right, I'm going to give it over to my wonderful, wonderful colleague, Mary.
had to unmute there for a second.
There we
I
go.
thought it would be helpful if we just stepped a little back for a moment. And, you know, it's kind of like, what's it really all about? That maybe we can use some of this time of isolation and frustration and set aside a little bit of it, a little directed set aside time and say, is life purposeful? I think if you've bothered to be on our Zoom today in the midst of this difficult time, that you probably have already decided that life is purposeful, that there is a purpose that each person comes here to fulfill. The problem is we don't always know. We don't come with an instruction package, you know, and so we don't always immediately know what our purpose is. We kind of have to bump through life a bit to find that purpose and to know that we're working to fulfill it. And you know, I don't know, the Life is Difficult is the first line of one of the books that I think is a great introduction to the complexities of life, whose name just escaped me, the author. Remember, I'm going to be 80 next month, so I have to give
Oh
you
my. Oh,
She looks
God.
like she's 40. She looks like she's 45.
Uh-oh. We've lost them again.
Who's on? Hello?
YouTube.
Hello.
Hello, I'm here. Can you hear me, Mary? Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Mary,
Hello, Life.
second, but I think you're,
You can hear me now, right?
yeah.
Can you hear us?
Yes,
Can
I
you-
always could hear you. So I think life is difficult, but we are here to grow. And so that implies that we're going to have challenges, problems. Now, I don't think anybody ever thought the challenge and problem would be that the entire world was surrounded by a virus, which is taking many of us over to the other side, and that we would be at the time of life in which the errors in the way we have treated nature have contributed to climate change at an accelerated pace. A lot of those things that we're having to deal with now, we may even have thought would be a problem someday, but you never think that they're going to be your problem. At least I never think they're going to be my problem. But the fact is that the only constant in problem solving is the person solving the problem. And that is that you have to learn to know yourself. One of the things that I often struggle with is, you know, you have a little voice in your head that says, you know, what's the matter with you? Your mother told you you're supposed to take soup to the neighbors when they don't feel well. What's the matter with you? Why don't you do X, Y, Z? Do you really need to eat that? Have you seen the mirror lately? There's 1,000 things a little voice says to you in kind of an endless drip. And so you have to say, what is the problem? Let me define the problem. And as my dear husband said to me today, and I was mumbling about a problem, he said, stop, Mary, and define the problem. Tell me exactly what the problem is. And as soon as I was able to do that, then the ability to solve the problem increased exponentially. It was amazing. So the first thing when you're dealing with a problem is that you have to decide what it is, decide how valuable it is, first of all, and then you say, is this my problem? Or is this somebody else's problem that I've just picked up the bucket for? So is it my problem, and am I the person? Am I supposed to do something with it? Is anything I do going to affect the outcome of that problem? Or is it just going to affect me? Is it going to be more churning for me? So I think what you want to do is to say your problem, your personal problem. Then is anything you do going to affect the problem? Now, there's no question that COVID is our personal problem. The thing can do about it are usually the things that are related to ourselves. I'll bet you everybody on this screen has a mask. And if you were outside around people, you'd put it on, because you're protecting yourself and you're protecting the other person. So I think what you want to do is you want to evaluate a problem to see if it's yours and to see if you have anything that you can do to contribute to the resolution of it. And then you say, okay, it's my problem. Now, what is the problem? How can I fix this? And one of the mistakes I think we might be inclined to make is to say, I need to find the answer to the problem, as though there is only one magical answer. And until we find that, we can't do anything about the problem. And what I have found is that sometimes you can find an answer that changes the problem, that shifts the problem, that reduces the problem, that opens a box or an access point to the problem, instead of waiting to find the answer to the problem. So it's a change. So frankly, I think we're all pretty lucky. Most of us have food and shelter. We have a community. We're in a country that has religious freedoms. We may have some of the others that feel like they're under attack, but we basically have religious freedom. And the people who are connected with the UCM or other spiritual metaphysical churches or communities say, we've found a spot that supports the concept of many paths. My son, very bright, we lost him early, but he would listen to us talk, and we would, earlier in our life, we come from a Christian background, so we were perhaps more Christian talking than we are now. And he would say, well, Mama, what about those Buddhists? Aren't they okay too? And I said, yeah, those Buddhists are just fine. No God would make a world in which only the Christians that lived in this little piece of the world, they were the ones who could get to go to heaven, and everybody else, they just were passing through. Didn't even make sense to me. It certainly didn't make sense to my 8-year-old son. So we looked for and supported a church that had many paths up the mountain. And our church, a church, believes not only in an existence after death, but believes that our worlds are connected. And I think that's a wonderful blessing, especially if you have people who've crossed, that that you may not see them. Some people can see them, but generally speaking, we don't see them. We don't touch them. They don't give us a hug, and they rarely bring the coffee to the room in the morning, but they're there. We know somehow that they're there and that they're connected. And we believe, Tom and I and others believe, that the communication between those worlds is possible. And one of the things we're going to try and touch on tonight is how people plan for and communicate with their family members or people that they love after death. So here we go. So I always try and when I was making my peace with it, I said, death, it's always out there. I'm going to die. I don't want to startle any of you, but you're going to die too. That's how it works. So I try not to worry about that too much. I try
Just
to
a matter
live.
of when.
Yeah.
Just a matter of when.
Matter when. But you want to not get too caught up on when, because people don't know when they're going to die. Some people do. Some people have an illness that's taking a natural path, and they have a sense of it. But most of the time, we're startled by the fact that somebody dies unexpectedly. So what do people say that have time that they're planning? They think, oh, I've left so much undone. My daughter said that to me when she was, she said, there's things I haven't gotten done. And, what one of them can you do, Mama? And then one of them do we just have to let go? And so you do the best you can under these circumstances. And I try and tell myself, nobody ever promised me a rose garden. Nobody ever said it was going to be smooth sailing. It would all be easy. People I love are going to die and have died. I hate that. I hate that part. It hurts. And again, as Chris said, it's the timing. We rarely know when they're going to die and when we're going to die. We hope that they got some of their stuff done. And I have to remember that I did the best I could, and I have to try and do the best I could for them. And then I have to let go. It's very challenging when you have ancestors on the other side that you think you have unfinished business with that you can't get done, because it's hard to direct it all from this side. And sometimes you have someone like Lynn who has a skill that can reach and see that. And those of us, Corky knows certainly Dottie can touch those people. And that's all a part of our life because we're in this community. But the reality is that we just have to say we will do the best, and we'll ultimately connect in a different way, in a different place. And until then, I have to do the best I can, and then I have to let it go. So I guess it's okay. You can click it. I'm through with those words. One of the things that dealing with ancestors is to decide what unfinished business you want to put into prayer and work on, and what you're just going to let go. Writing it out over there if you have to, but there's some things that are probably more in your energy field than in their energy field. Rumor hath it that it's pretty good over there. They don't have quite the same stuff. So one of the things we were going to talk about tonight, and I'm not sure, I didn't get this little slide out of order, but is that when somebody dies here, we have to deal with the body. And a lot of rituals, a lot of strategies, a lot of practices have evolved depending upon the culture. And many people, the earliest culture was burial. And there's, you could go through all those words. I know that you're not supposed to have this kind of stuff on a slide because it's really too much to read. But the bottom line is, how did the early people start? And the early people started with burial. And I don't mean to be, well, sure. Those of you who know me, I'm kind of gross anyway. You just know what I want to say.
I think that's cruel that they buried them with tools. I mean, they're supposed to be put to rest, not put to work.
They're always afraid, that what if you get over there and you don't have the tools you need?
Yeah.
Well, often I think in the very beginning, before their spirituality was terribly evolved, they buried the body because it didn't smell very good. I mean, I am a nurse. I know how downhill that can go. You don't want to draw animals to the bodies, which is what often happens. You have scavengers, but you also have attacking animals. And in those days, you're beating off a saber-toothed tiger with a stick. So you didn't want to gather a group of them. So you buried the body. You buried the body of animals who were part of your community also for the same reasons. So I think initially it was a practical reason. And then as people's spirituality became more and it grew more, then I think they began to attach things like, well, just in case he needs a tool over there. So, bye-bye. I think we can change this one too. So we've been, not only did we bury people, but in Tibet, which was an earlier civilization than ours. Did I lose Tibet? Yeah, whoa. Wait, we're going back. What's happening here? I think you're back one more. There's some alternatives to
Uh-oh.
the sky burials, which is they not very high, so animals couldn't get to them, and they left them outside. And cremation began in the 1800s, and it's now more popular than burial in large cities, especially, or very communities in which burial space is limited. Cremation has become more popular. Okay, now I can change. I just touched on some of the religions that I thought were interesting to see how they dealt with their with the bodies. People, I don't think, become your ancestors until you've dealt with the body. So this is the interim step. You have to do something with the bodies. And for centuries, Hindus gathered to burn corpses on a funeral pyres along the Ganges. And now, you know, because of COVID, they're not allowed to do that anymore. So that kind of restriction on what they established as guidelines for themselves or rituals that they thought made a difference is very hard for people in a time in which you're losing more people, you're losing unexpected people, and then you're not able to send them off in the way that you want to send them off. It's also interesting that Hindus and people of the Islamic faith live very close to each other in several places in India and Pakistan and those places. And burning of corpses is forbidden in Islam. They wash the corpses and then wrap them and then buried them. Jews. Oh, we're not going to bury you. You're very much alive, and we like that. Jews receive condolences at home. They have a 7-day mourning period they call Shiva, and they tear their clothes and they lament and they release their pain, and people come to them. They talk. There's certain guidelines for how you do Shiva. And then they tell them, now let it go and get back to life. And so that's what I try to do. Romans, who were the people of the baths, were also the people who supported cremation. And as they made their way across the world, gathering people under their umbrella, whether they wanted to be gathered or not, cremation was a very heavy influence that they tried to press. But Christians who began to evolve in areas of Rome returned to burial because they anticipated the Lord returning soon, and they thought they'd need their bodies in an afterlife. I mean, I love those Christians, but they've obviously not 2-month-old bodies. But you know, it's all in the spirit of the thing. So let's look at the next slide. Let's move on. Let me get off the stage with that one. One thing that happens with us, all of us, those human people that connect with one another, is that we have come to understand that we are beings that vibrate. We vibrate. And, you know, we don't see ourselves as vibrating. When I take Tom's hand and he takes my hand, it feels like a hand. It doesn't feel like quivering, vibrating energy. But we vibrate. And those energy fields that vibrate, that kind of represent us, go out. And we are looking for vibrations that match it in the world, because those are a lot more comfortable and those are likely to join up. We long for inclusion. We're not made, it's a difficult life that the hermit chooses. I mean, there's probably days when you feel, especially if you've been in your own home in the middle of all this, like, you know, this is about all the hermiting I want to do for a while.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, that's pretty tough. It's tough business to be the hermit, you know, and not get the feedback, not get the return of energy. I remember in somebody have something they wanted to? When I was in grammar school, I came to California when I was 8 years old. And I came from a Catholic school in New York, which had pretty tough standards. And so we drove across the country, glass of wine, another time I'll give you all those stories. But we drove across the country. It took quite a while, 6 to 8 weeks to get to where we were in California and get me registered in school. And I was still ahead of the students in my class. And so I was different. Not only did we not have any money, and my shoes didn't match those fancy saddle shoes. I don't know if any of you are old enough
Yep.
to remember those.
Oh, yeah.
shoes.
Yep.
They were a real symbol, and I didn't have it. You know, we have these kind of bumpy old black shoes, and I probably should throw away the picture of the third grade where we're all sitting in the front row, and everybody has black and brown shoes until you get to me, and I have these beat up old black shoes. So in grammar school, if you can't, most of us don't know in grammar school how to adjust our vibrations. So you're not going to make your vibrations. I need a little more time on the vibration slide, whoever's the slide person.
That's me. I'm so sorry, Mary. My finger slipped. I apologize. That's me.
Okay. So in grammar school, you just do it. You know, you just stumble along the best you can do it. But they really continue to create our energy space in our world and in everyone's space. And I'll bet everybody online today has had an experience where you walk into a group where you don't know and you haven't said a word, and they may not even be talking. There's a part of you that goes, uh-oh, this is going to be a short visit and I'm out of here. Something's wrong. You know, you just feel it.
Yeah.
And, or you meet someone and the shields go down. You say, whoa, this is wonderful energy. You know, this person is really something. And that alert comes from our vibrational field that extends beyond our physical body. And what we have to think about is what a nice, handy tool it is, and how much more effective it's going to be when the body is diminished, when we leave it here. When we go behind, we can presume, I don't know how it works exactly. I've been asking questions, but nobody's sent me any notes or anything, so I'm speculating.
Sherry, I love your laugh. I just have to say.
I'm sorry, I can't get my video to work, so.
I'm just glad you're here.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, we can go on. Thanks. So when you die, you move into this fully vibrational state, but are usually moved out of this immediate area unless something has gone awry. Someone is going to have a ritual. You are going to around people who have a problem. Excuse me, Katie, I'm on teaching a class. Rituals can externalize the pain you're feeling in the moment. If you've ever lost somebody that was very important to you, and you think, I can't live through this. This is excruciating. The rituals that you create, and if you come from a community that has rituals and you move into those, one, the community can support you because you would be doing the similar thing. And two, you are comforted by the consistency of something that has occurred to you in a time in which the world doesn't feel very consistent anymore when you've had an unexpected death. So I think you want to have some rituals in your community that work for you. And I also think that it's wonderfully helpful to learn and share about other rituals. I think when our children's birthday comes around, I cry you know, there's no way. I mean, I try and plan this and that, and I eat their favorite food and whatever, and I cry. But when Dia De Los Muertos comes, that can be a happy ritual, and I put down their favorite candy on the altar, and then I eat it.
Hi,
Of course.
honey. I'm in the middle of a workshop. Can I call you back? Okay. Thanks, honey. Bye-bye.
Can you hear Janet? Can you?
Yes.
We still connected?
Okay. Sorry about that.
Okay. Whoa. Could we go back?
Yes, we can. I'm sorry. I thought you said for me to go forward. I'm sorry, Mary.
What happened? I thought maybe that I had fallen mute, and it wasn't Tom turning off my speaker.
Your speaker.
So I also think that learning other rituals can remind us that there are many paths up the mountain, because it is such, in my view, I'm not speaking for the church or anybody else, in my view, it is such a colossal waste of energy to spend it being angry or frightened or attacking because somebody else doesn't have the same picture of the God source that you do. I think everybody has a right to their own picture of the God source, and everybody has a right to figure out how they're going to get connected. And that if you take the time to learn about their rituals, you can look at their rituals from a little more distance, and you don't have to defend yourself against them. And so you don't have to defend yourself against their view of God, which might not be your view of God. The first message I got, you know, Tom was spiritual and still is at a far more evolved, greater rate than I. But when I kind of worked my way into it after a few years of being married to him, and seeing that, you know, nothing bad happened if you started down that path, I asked for a message to make sure that this was the right thing. And it was a very short message, but a very, very short piece of it was that the God or the source is far more concerned with our following whatever path we've decided and spending our time evaluating our path or other people's paths. I think, you know, our job is to kind of decide what's the right thing for us to do, and then put our energy into doing the right thing, and not put a lot of energy into making sure that Martha across the street is doing the right thing. And that's, you know, I always talk about what I've had to learn, because I've had to learn lots in my life. And I used to spend too much time saying, oh, I wonder how that works over there. I wonder what they're doing. Oh, I wonder if I should tell them there's a better way. I shouldn't. Okay, Jan.
So I just want that, Mary. I mean, what you're talking about is so amazing, is because that's why we have our annual Light of Light ceremony. If I can interrupt you for a minute and just acknowledge that all of you are invited to that. It's our community candle lighting ceremony that we do. We'll be doing it via Zoom this year, but it's a very powerful time for us to come together as community, as family of people who have gone through the loss of someone that we love, and being able to honor them. And it's an amazing ceremony. I invite you to come. It's going to be incredible.
Janet,
Mary,
what day is it on?
it is on December the 9th. December the 9th, from 6:30 to 8:30. It will be via Zoom. We are having the flyers done right now, and I will be glad to send you out some.
That's going to be a lot of people on Zoom, huh?
Yeah, but I think we're going to have fun.
Good.
Yeah.
Hopefully then there'll be more people that can have more than one person in their Zoom camera at the time, but we'll see what happens. And I've been to several of them, and they're wonderful. They really are.
True, they are.
Okay. The other thing I believe, and then I'm going to pass this back to Janet, is source. I call God source, because I don't see. And when I was young, they said, well, God is the Father, and he has a white beard, and he sits on a throne, fancy chair. And I, even as a kid, I thought, well, how do you get a body up there? And, what's that all about? So what I do myself is that God is a source of divine inspiration, a source of light, a source of structure for the universe. But I don't know much about God. I just know that I like it. I want one. I want it to be there. But it's not about what's outside us that we as much about what's in here. Oh, I left the word out. Inside us. And so you want to use all your tools to change the inside. And that's one thing we can do with this separation of COVID from our regular communications is to strengthen our internal communications with ourselves. We can do some meditation. We can do some prayer. We can learn to just sit outside and not read, think, or make a list. Just sit outside if you need a timer.
No,
But
Liz. Don't know if I can do that.
nobody lives not be afraid of solitude. But then you also can learn by reading, learn by coming together and sharing our thoughts like this, by being. So right now I'm going to pass it back to Janet and let her give us some more learning. Thank you, Janet.
Well, thank you. And I just invite us again to take a nice deep breath, because we were in the first way. We now are in the second way, and we will be building the third way. And it's so important, my friends, to realize that as we learn from each other's cultures, each other's ceremonies, each other's rituals, we can empower that third way to be a healing way, to be a transformative way that can inform how we live our life on the earth. And literally, what Mary has given us is an amazing platform to acknowledge that there are many paths to the source, and there are also many paths from the source to us. And what that does is that creates an individual, unique experience that we can build for ourselves in a very magical way. And so I'm just honoring that as we build the third way, we are still in the second way, because we are still living moment by moment, step by step, with the ever-changing issues we are dealing with. I have to share with you, I had the privilege of being with a class via Zoom this afternoon, and there was an African-American woman, young woman there, that was talking about her difficulties with all that was going on. And I told her, I said, you know what? You have our support. Do what you need to do to take care of yourself. And she said, but I feel badly for my white people friends, because, things are hard and I don't want them to suffer. And what I told her, and she said, thank you afterwards, is, you know what? You let us support you, and you can support us by loving us, but let us figure out the way that we're going to deal with it and make peace with it. It is not your responsibility to take care of us. And she just breathed a sigh of relief, because she said, I felt so guilty. I've been, some of my white friends have been, asking me, how can I make it better? How can I help? And I said, and she goes, I don't have answers. And I said, you don't have to have answers. Just allow us to do our growth and our building of the third way, and we will be in support of you. And that's what it's about, my friends, really being humble and paying homage to different backgrounds, different experiences, different ways of connecting with our ancestors, different ways of connecting to our sense of power and our sense of being able to build the third way. And how we do that is by getting from out of control to in control. That's what ceremonies do. That's what Dia De Los Muertos does, is it gives us a holiday where we can honor our dead loved ones and also honor death and befriend it. and not be afraid of it, but join with it and join our energies with those who have gone on before us. And it's so powerful because that moves us from out of isolation, dealing with our grief in isolation, into community.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing because when we have that opportunity, to tend and befriend, it creates such healing. The universal experience of ceremony and ritual actually creates an exponential increase of incredible energy. And it's just what Mary was talking about earlier. It actually exponentially increases our energy when we gather together. There's the old biblical saying, when two or more of you are gathered in my name, in Spirit's name, great energy happens, great healing happens. And so that's what Dia de los Muertos has taught me. And I'm not going to pretend to know a lot about it. We are going to give you a wonderful handout that I actually found from Wikipedia, which has some information on the details of it. But I'm hoping that by exploring Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead, that we can take a look at what it means, how we want to incorporate the wisdom of it into our own lives, and what are some of the components of it. And so many of you on this Zoom may know much more than I do. So again, I'm not pretending to know. I'm inviting us to share and to experience the wonderful gift of this particular holiday. And, it is not only in Mexico, but I have learned, in my explorations and also talking with people, that this happens in many parts of the country, of the world, as a matter of fact. And actually in California, we have some of the biggest celebrations of Dia de los Muertos in LA area and in San Francisco and Oakland, and even in our own beloved Silicon Valley, San Jose. We have amazing Dia de los Muertos celebrations that we've been doing for years in our community. And what it does is it's honoring the tradition, not grabbing onto it, as we don't want to do a land grab and say, now I know what to do, and now I'm just going to take it and make it my own. We need to, otherwise, and from my perspective, we need to learn from it and then make it our own, whatever our own ceremonial connection with our people. That's what we have to do. So not stealing from this wonderful, incredible holiday, but taking the wisdom from it, taking the wisdom and what we can learn from it. And I'm just put some of these quotes down because this is probably the essence of what Dia de los Muertos teaches us. And I'm just going to read a couple of them. To live in hearts we leave behind is not to die. Thomas Campbell, Hallowed Ground. This is a very powerful statement. To live in hearts we leave behind is not to die. That means if we are alive, and there is actually an old Jewish saying, by the way, I'm a cashew, for those of you that don't know. My mother was Catholic and my father was Jewish, so I'm a special kind of nut. So one of the things that is often said in the Jewish tradition, I'm alive as long as I'm remembered. If you remember me, I stay alive. And that's a theme in a lot of different cultures. From my rotting body, flowers shall grow, and I am in them, and that is eternity. Very powerful statement about the cycle of life. And that's Edvard Munch. For those of you that don't know, he was the one that painted the Scream, that very powerful artwork. And it is talking about the cycle of life, about how our energy is recycled. And there's been lots of scientific research that shows that to be true and actually can enable us to connect with our ancestors. The life of the dead is placed in the memory of the living. And I love this one. Oh, may I join the choir invisible of those immortal dead who live again. God pours life into death and death into life without a drop being spilled, without a drop being spilled. So we don't lose any of the energy. We don't lose any of our energy. And after all, to the well-organized mind, death is but the next great adventure. And I think what helps us to maybe grab onto that concept is the ability to do ceremonies that acknowledge our incredible sadness at not having the person physically here anymore.
Yes.
To be with. That physical loss of the physical body is really rough on us. And that has to be acknowledged before we can claim any of these higher spiritual connections that we can have. We need to be able to have our grief. It is a part, if we take a look at all great spiritual leaders across history, there's always a point. Jesus wept. There's always a point. You know, Moses rang out. Moses lamented. You know, there's always moments where we, if we give ourselves the permission, are allowed to grieve. And that is so powerful, because what Dia de los Muertos does is it gives us that acknowledgement and lets us grieve, and also lets us celebrate the love that never dies. And then from the Gladiator movie, I knew a man who once said, "Death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back." And that's very much how the calaveras, the skulls in Dia de los Muertos, are seen. They're seen smiling. They're seen doing tasks. They're seeing, you know, the skeletons are doing like daily jobs that they used to do, or playing instruments, or doing their favorite music, or eating their favorite food. It's like to indicate that, you know, we just got to smile back, because it's going to happen. And then I love this quote: "Death leaves a heartache no one can heal. Love leaves a memory no one can steal."
That's really good.
Love leaves a memory that no one can steal. And that is from a wonderful headstone in Ireland.
Can't beat the Irish.
You can't beat the Irish. And you know, my friends, that's what this is about. Death does leave a heartache no one can heal, but love is what brings the healing. And love can keep those memories in our hearts, in our heart hotel, that no one can steal. And I had a client many years ago who gave us the gift of the Heart Hotel. And her name was Eleonora. And she also taught me a lot about Dia de los Muertos. And she said, "My heart is a hotel, and everybody I love has a room in that Heart Hotel. And when someone dies, they don't lose their room in my Heart Hotel. It is there forever. And I can fill it up with memories and love and good times that even death can't take away." And that's the key right there, my friends. Even death cannot take away our memories, cannot take away our love. It is there forever. There have been ancient ways that we've created to honor, celebrate, and connect to our ancestors. That's the bottom line. We've been doing this since the beginning of time. We knew the need for us to be able, both individually and collectively, to connect with our ancestors. So I'm just going to get right into Dia de los Muertos and some things that we might use from it. And again, I'm going to invite you, if you wish to know about these, there are many different traditions around this holiday, so feel free to, you know, explore further. And we're going to actually send you a little handout that's got some things about what happens in Mexico as well as in different countries around the world. But there are wonderful, wonderful things that are a part, and these are symbolic parts of Day of the Dead. So it's typically over 3 days. You have All Souls Day, All Saints Day, and then Dia de los Muertos. And it's been fit right beautifully, like hand in glove, with the Catholic Church, All Souls Day and All Saints Day. And it's beautifully, because it's come from indigenous people way before the Catholics were, you know, a part of our reality. And they just merged them together beautifully. I actually think the Catholic Church did a pretty good job of kind of merging, you know, with these ancient traditions and keeping them alive. And I know many people in the Hispanic community that are doing a lot to keep these traditions alive so that we can gather their wisdom and we can keep their wisdom. So Cempasúchil, what is Cempasúchil? Mary, would you go get the flowers? Cempasúchil is what we call the marigolds. And the marigolds are very, very special in Day of the Dead because they create, there you go, yay! Flowers are very powerful because they represent the unrepeatable moments that they're so beautiful, and then they die. And it's very quick. Their life is very short. But while they are there in their full beauty, they create the golden path. And in Dia de los Muertos, they create that golden bridge from our world to the other world where our loved ones are. And we go through the golden bridge. And in fact, many ways, in many traditions, Cempasúchil, they make the marigold cross, and then they make a marigold path so that the dead ones can find their altar or their ofrenda, the offering altar that we set up for them on these special days, which has their favorite food, their favorite, cigarettes, their favorite tequila or their favorite drink, and has wonderful things on the altar for them as an ofrenda for them. So you can see the Cempasúchils create that wonderful, wonderful thing. And then you see papel picado. Now you can see in the picture that I have here on the PowerPoint, papel picado is Spanish for cut paper. And there are specific paper cutting themes that we have in Dia de los Muertos. And I don't know if you can see, but we have skulls, we have sunrises. There are a variety of different patterns that are made with this cut paper, and it's quite incredible. When I had the privilege of going to Oaxaca with Maria Vera and with Lola Gonzalez, and who took us there? Now her name is Sylvia, and she took us there to Oaxaca.
That Laura Marshall?
Laura Marshall, right. And I'm thinking of Sylvia Cardenas because she's taken me down there too. And she's one of our volunteers. But Laura Marshall took us right down to her family's home. And we got to celebrate Dia de los Muertos. And we got to see the papel picado. And then we have the calavera, the skull. And what's powerful about this, my friends, is it represents that if we can be friends with death, if we can, and many people decorate their own faces with skull-like features to indicate that we are making friends with death. We are connecting with our loved ones who have died. And it becomes an artistic experience. It becomes a way that we can bring beauty to the experience of connecting with our loved ones and bringing it into that incredible experience. As we brought in earlier, many times the Mother Mary is featured on the ofrenda, on the altar, and she is honored. This is a beautiful one that I actually got. Oh, look at, oh, beautiful Mary. Oh, I love it. I love it. And this one was actually given to me by Mary, my wonderful sister and friend, Mary Gary. And it has a little bit of a Native American theme, and it just brings about that essence of we are going to be lovingly taken care of. We are going to be lovingly held. And the ofrendas are an amazing thing. We also have a lot of good food. Pan de muerto, which is actually bread that is made into different shapes, sometimes into a skull, into a calavera, sometimes in bones. Sometimes there can be like bone and skull candy, that's made. And I'll never forget, years ago, I was fairly new at the Center for Living with Dying, and I had had connections with Dia De Los Muertos. And I went across the street, I was at work, and I found these little coffins that had little candied, bones in them and skulls. And I thought, well, I'll just bring these to my coworkers and they'll think, what a treat, we're going to celebrate this. Well, Mary knows what's happening, and that's why she's laughing. She can unmute. But so I bought them all a little candied skull, and I, snuck it in and put it on their desk. And then and a couple of them said, "What is this? This is horrible. What is this? Who gave this to us?" And so I realized really quickly that where I had become comfortable with it, maybe it wasn't the thing to spring on somebody that didn't know anything about what I was what I was doing. But what it symbolizes is that we eat death as death eats us, and that we are a part of the skulls as they are a part of us, that continuity of love never dies. But I mean, I just had to be kind of aware. And, just acknowledging all of those parts. I even have a little Katrina here, and Katrina, the Katrina doll, and there she is, and she's all dressed up. This particular Katrina doll is dressed up as a Halloween, in her Halloween costume. And so she's got her Halloween big hat and her Halloween dress. And this was originally made as kind of a homage, if it were, to the upper class people that could afford to kind of walk down the street in all their finery. But how Dia de los Muertos is for all of us. And so she's become kind of a very special, addition to Day of the Dead. And my friends, as we're talking about all of these, they have symbology that makes us most comfortable and gives us a connection on the earth plane to these different and wonderful, wonderful things. A lot of times people will wear masks and be in parades. And this is a beautiful one. And they're often decorated like skulls, or like calaveras. And you just put on the mask, and it's kind of your way of dancing with death. Becoming familiar with it. Becoming familiar with it. And typically the altar, the ofrenda, is made in 3 levels in some traditions. And the first level is kind of the physical, the material level. So we've got all of the food, our favorite food that our people liked, and favorite activities that they did, and if they smoked, their favorite cigarettes. And then as we go up, then we have the calaveras, the skulls that remind us of, life is short, life is transitory, so live it to the fullest. That's really the message in this. Live it to the fullest, because we have this time to be with each other and to be, in this moment together. And then the last, the uppermost, is usually dedicated to the saints, to the angels, to God. It's our devotion to the source, to Great Spirit, whatever you want to call it, and that we are protected and held by angels, and that we are surrounded by the goodness that all of that means, and the goodness of our prayers, and our ability to connect and bring the light. There's so often candles used, and what I'm going to invite you to do actually is, if you have a candle at home, we're actually going to do a little ceremony where we, on our virtual altar here, can create an opportunity and a time for us to honor our loved ones in whatever way we wish. So if you have a picture or a candle, we'll be doing that in just a little bit. But the power of light in the darkness. People go to the cemeteries and they vigil, and we got to do this with Laura. We vigiled all night at her father's grave, and that's done on the last day, on Dia de los Muertos. So It's an amazing ceremony. Some people bring mariachi bands, or they'll split up the cost of a mariachi band and have it played at the cemetery. We have a picnic there, so we eat there, and we share the food that they love. And just as Mary said, when her children's anniversary dates come up, she puts out their picture. She lights a candle for them, and she eats their favorite food. That's very much Dia de los Muertos. That is very much what is done. And it's just a beautiful, just connecting ceremony that we can do to call them to us so that we can spend this period of time with them. Any questions? There's a picture of an altar. And you can see this one is dedicated, this ofrenda is dedicated to this one individual. And you can see the pan de muerto. Can you see the pan de muerto? Down there on the first level, feeding, and the flowers, the candles. And each one is unique and individual as they can be. And that's the beauty of it. You can make it any way you want. There's the papel picado, the cut paper. So it just gives us that chance to really honor and celebrate. Any thoughts on that? Any thoughts on what Dia de los Muertos does?
See, Janet?
Yes.
Oh, I've been working on ancestry. I've met a third cousin far across the country, and we have a branch that goes way, 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 way back in time. So as I'm going through these people's names, I feel like I'm kind of processing really and connecting with them and connecting with the meaning of that long string of lives. So the ancestry has a meaning this year.
It does. And when we connect with our ancestors in that real concrete way, such as you're doing, Lynn, I would offer that creates an amazing amount of power where we can then draw upon the resources and the energies that they had the courage to live through. We can gain their wisdom just by invoking it, just by calling it forth.
And I think, some could be living in other places and times again, but still part of their soul energy is there. And when I can't really leave the house much or go anywhere, I can go to the past and experience that.
Absolutely. That is exactly what it's about. And being able to have a time of the year that we do this. And there are many cultures that have different times of the year where they do this. In the Japanese culture, in August, they have what's called the Obon Festival. And the Obon Festival literally has these amazing boats that you put little lights on, and then you send them down the river. And it's your way of honoring your loved ones that have died. And however many boats you have, that's how many loved ones you've had that have died in the past year or past few years. There's a wonderful Diwali, the Festival of Light in the Eastern Indian culture and East Indian culture.
How do you say
Diwali,
that?
Diwali.
Oh,
Diwali.
okay.
Yeah. And what it does is it just gives us the chance to pay honor to them, but also to invite them to help us so that we are not so alone. So just the act of building an altar, however little, however tiny it is, it might be just a picture of your loved one and perhaps a candle. It can be that simple. And you are invoking not only your loved one, but you're invoking what? The spiritual energy that goes beyond life and death. The spiritual energy that goes beyond life and death. And it's powerful. It's powerful.
I just want to say it does feel like in the Latino culture that it is a way of kind of continuing those intimate feelings with those who have passed on. That it is a very kind of heart-centered ceremony. And I'll say this too, you know, my father died in a very tragic way. He was a missing person, and then he died. And then, so that year, my niece, I think she was like in kindergarten, and went to an immersion school in Davis where she was learning Spanish. You know, the kids together were learning Spanish and English, and so she made the little skull. You know, she made this whole thing, this little, I don't know, diorama or something, you know, that had to do with her grandfather, you know, because she lost him. She was just 5 years old. So it was very sweet. I remember.
That is beautiful. That is a beautiful example of how intuitively children do this. And sometimes as we become adults, we forget that we can do this.
Yeah.
Mary and I have both been inspired by Coco. And the protagonist in Coco is an amazing young man. He's a young boy who is, you know, searching for the truth and looking for that connection. And it's amazing if you haven't seen it. But just as your,
Yeah.
you know, beautiful, you know, what she did in that moment was created a connection, a bridge between her and her grandfather.
Mm.
And then celebrated it so that we don't necessarily have to stay in the mourning, but the mourning, the crying, is held with the joy and the celebration. Both are accepted, both are allowed, and one does not negate or cancel out the other. It's both an and I use this kind of movement with my hands to indicate that it's both an and. It doesn't have to be either or. We can do both an and. And when I was vigiling at Laura's father's gravesite, I saw people crying, I saw people laughing, I saw people singing, I saw people eating, I saw people dancing, you know, and I saw people hold each other and share the memories of their loved ones. And so it brings it right back to those memories that can never be taken away from us. So Kathleen, thank you for allowing her to do that. And thank you for inviting her, you know, because it's not scary if it's presented in a beautiful way, like it sounds like it was presented in her school.
Yeah.
That
Little
she,
skulls and everything. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And it also allows us to complete any unfinished business that we have. Because as Mary was talking about earlier, a big pain about grief is that we may have unfinished business. We may not have gotten to say that final I love you. Or maybe we had that final argument that was really upsetting. We never had the chance to deal with it or heal it. So this is the opportunity where we can acknowledge it and express it and release it from our being and fill up that heart hotel with the love. Because that's another thing that Eleonora taught me. She said, you know what? No one ever, you know, takes the place of that person who's died. I create a new room. I'm like Mrs. Winchester. I can create a new room for new people I love, but they never lose the old one, and I fill it up with the love and the memories, because those love and memories are what is sweet. And I'm going to release the pain and the sorrow, the guilt, the loneliness, the depression, the anger, and I'm going to keep the love and memories in my heart hotel. And that's truly what ceremonies like Dia De Los Muertos allows us to do. It allows us to have that experience.
Always think,
Janet,
Yes.
I just wanted to, when you're talking about ritual, I don't know if you heard about it or not, but when Chadwick Boseman died, Boswick, he was in that movie about the Panther superhero. And when he died, when the actor died, children were creating these little rituals for them with all their Superman dolls and everything, all those dolls. And they had the panther laying down in the middle, but they had a ritual to help them mourn the loss of this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, even though it was a superhero, but the actor's death meant that the superhero is gone too. It's just amazing to see these little tiny kids building these rituals.
Absolutely. And there are so many ways that we can do this in building little altars, doing little rituals, like you said, with their, action figures that they probably had, or, ways that they could do it. It brings me right back to, our 4 steps: acknowledge, express, act, and reconnect. That's kind of the 4 steps we've come up with at the Center for Living with Dying to manage loss and change. If you can acknowledge and express your grief and your loss, and then do an action step that is transformative. And that's where the courage comes in. It's like saying, I'm going to invite my ancestors in, and I'm going to sit down and have a conversation with them. I'm going to sit down and have a conversation with them.
Could
And
you repeat those 4?
Yes, absolutely. Acknowledge, express, act, and reconnect.
Thank you.
Yes, and I think I have a slide here with them. Because what it does is it gives us the chance to do that infinity of giving and receiving from and with our ancestors. And also, as we honor them, it gives them strength to then support us. So you can see how that infinity of giving and receiving, when we do these ceremonial moments where we connect with them, it actually gives us a way of acknowledging, expressing, and doing an action step to reclaim that love in a new way. And we also have to hold the grief and honor the grief, because the grief is very real. We are very physical human beings, and we need to be able to have permission to have our grief. But the love can make the grief a little bit easier to bear. We aren't taking it away. So that's what ceremony gives us. It gives us that way to invoke, that way to connect, that way to honor, and that way to celebrate the love that never dies. And so what I'm hoping that we can do in the time that we have is a couple of things. One is I'd love to do a ceremony where if you do have a candle, and even if you don't, we're going to light another candle for you, that you perhaps pull up some pictures. If you have any photographs, they might be on your phone, of people that you would like to honor, that you would like to invoke, that you would like to connect, and that you would like to celebrate. And let us do that now. And by the way, these beings can be 2-legged or 4-legged. This is so important, my friends. The death of our animals, our pets, or animals that we know, can be incredibly difficult to deal with. And we're not often given permission to express our grief over them. So this is not only 2-legged, it's 4-legged. And we often say at the center that the depth of our connection is the depth of our grief. So the depth of our love will indicate the depth of our grief. It's the price we pay for love. And I'm not going to give up on loving because the grief is hard. I'm just going to honor the grieving and hoping it can be as gentle as it can be. But that's the price we pay for love. So I'm just going to invite you, if you've got a candle, or if you've got a name of a name of a person you would like to honor, we would like to do that. We would like to do that. We would like to invoke them, to honor them, to connect with them, and to celebrate our love that never dies. So again, I'm going to ask permission. May I light this other candle?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Please do.
Thank you. And as we light this candle, this is our candle for our ancestors. Oh, Mary, it's so beautiful. And would you be willing, Mary, to name your ancestors that you are honoring today?
These are our children, Kathy, the mother of Thomas, our grandchildren, and Patrick, the father of Katie and Nicole.
Yes.
They're always around the table.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though they're younger than we are, now that they're on the other side, there are God.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing them with us.
For
So
allowing me.
we honor Kathy. We honor Patrick. Come to us now. Yes, I agree, Kathleen's
Wow.
cat. That was wonderful.
That was perfect.
That was incredible. Would anyone else like to share an ancestor?
I'll share. So this is my father. There we go.
There he is. Oh,
Like in his lawyer days, and then here, this will just kind of. So that's my father and my mother, and I spoke of Gianna. She's the little girl in this picture. She's the one who did the little Los
oh,
Muertos diorama thing.
that's incredible.
You can see everybody.
So we honor father and mother. Will you say their names, Kathleen, please?
Brayton, it's an unusual name, Brayton. Brayton and June.
And June.
Yeah.
We honor Brayton. We honor June. Come to us now. Yay, thank you.
Thank you.
And you don't have to have a picture to do this if you don't want to do it with a picture. Just a name will do, and we can invoke.
Janet, I would like
Yes.
to honor Aaron and my parents, Robert and Florence.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And let's take a deep breath. We honor Aaron. Go ahead. You say your mother's and father's name. I'll shut up. On Zoom, unfortunately, we can't sing together, which so irritates the heck out of me. But go ahead, sing your name, Sherry.
It's Aaron, Robert, and Florence.
So we honor Aaron. We honor Robert. We honor Florence. Please come to us now. Great. Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
Oh, let's see. Janet,
Mm-hmm.
I have a picture of someone I'm honoring that's with my little Can you see me? And you'll see.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Okay.
I know just who that is, too.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go to myself and see that. Okay. So I wanted to honor Joe, Jessica, and Blackie the cat.
Ooh, I love it. We honor Joe.
Oh,
We honor Jessica. We honor Blackie the cat. Absolutely. Right on time. You can't make this up, my friends. You cannot make this up.
Well, that is beautiful. Thank you.
That is.
He's a big black cat, right? Or-
That's really good.
Wonderful.
Great.
Okay, so I'd like to honor our friend Barbara, who recently died of COVID. So, because we haven't had a chance to have any kind of ceremony around that. So
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Yes.
that's somebody that, Dottie's friend from 60 years ago and stuff. So let's put Barbara in there. And she loved animals, so that's so Blackie. Here you go.
There you go.
Go help her, Blackie. Okay.
We honor Barbara.
There's so many.
honor.
Oh, it's just that there's so many, but I'll catch them in December.
Catch them in December. I know we often say, for those of us that have been to Light of Lights, well, we'll see you in December. I've got a
That's
list of
right.
people to honor.
Yeah. The second Wednesday in
Absolutely.
December, right.
That's right. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes. Alla, Christine, Christopher,
I'll go. This is
thank
Emma.
you.
A picture of my father
Oh,
when he was young, and he's looking at me in this picture. So,
oh,
yeah, his name is Boris.
Yeah. See everybody.
he is so handsome. Oh,
Who is? Oh,
I'm not gonna argue with you. He's younger than me in this picture, so.
oh.
can you show the picture again, please?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just kidding.
Oh, thank you.
Oh
Thank
my
you for sharing.
gosh.
He was a good man.
Thank you.
Oh.
He is a good man.
Great picture.
May we ask his first name?
Boris.
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 We honor Boris. We invite him here. And I love what you said, Alla. He was a good man. Good men and good people need to be honored. We need to hear their names. Thank you. Christine or Christopher, would you have anyone to honor?
I don't have any picture nearby to
That's
show
all right.
you, and but
You can just describe who you're honoring.
my parents, my father, Paul F. Miller, Paul Frederick Miller, and my mother, Joy Lillian Hanson Miller. And I've been trying to honor these people all week and connecting in my yard as I'm doing yard work and such, and seeing the new little lizards and life coming back after all the big threats of the fire. And so it's been quite special connection time with that. But I'm also trying to honor the living that are here also, and appreciating the ones, and trying to be uplifting for them also.
Beautiful. And I think it's a both and thing. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
We need to do both and. So we honor Paul. We honor Joy. We invite them here. Yay.
We've had a couple of very special animals, a Pomeranian, one named Pee-wee, and the other was Coco. They were both shelter dogs, and what wonderful animals.
We honor Pee-wee. We honor Coco. Oh, I see Christine has brought a friend.
This is
I'm
my
wanting to.
Pee-wee.
Oh my gosh.
And he was a shelter puppy.
And he's called
Oh.
Pee-wee. That's a coincidence, huh?
Pee-wee,
That's incredible.
Yeah. It's actually a popular dog name.
Yeah,
Still-
it is for little ones, right?
Hmm?
For little ones, for little
Do you have the
doggies. That's
picture?
often
Can we see the picture?
Of Pee-wee?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just held him up.
You just held him up
Oh, he's
for us.
there.
Yeah, he ran away.
Yes, he's there. Yes. I was so excited to see another two-legged, another
old?
four-legged.
How old is your dog?
I got him in 2014, so 6 years old.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Do you have anyone, Christine, that you would like to honor?
My dad, he passed away in 2017.
Oh, it's not very long ago.
No.
Yeah.
Very close.
Yeah, absolutely. What was his name, may I ask?
Charlie.
Charlie.
Mhm.
Okay.
Great name.
It is a
Yeah.
great name. It's a wonderful name. We honor
Honor
Charlie.
Charlie.
We invite you here. And I'm going to honor a beautiful man that I had the privilege of working with. He was a responder, and he and I taught classes together. And he died last February, very suddenly, in a car accident.
Oh,
And his name is Ray Pagarigan. He is an amazing man. I learned so much from him, and loss was really hard. So I'm going to honor Ray today. We honor Ray.
Paganini.
We invite you here. And I actually married he and his wife. He was newly married, had been single for many years as a first responder. He felt like, he had so much work to do for the community that he didn't have time to get married, and he had just gotten married a year previous, and they had just settled in Las Vegas, and then he died in a tragic accident. And so the people that he helped, were the people that helped him. And,
right.
and I just send energy to his beautiful wife, because I know she's really having a rough time. And, all of that love never dies. And by invoking and inviting and connecting and honoring, we can now celebrate. We can celebrate them in us. We can celebrate that they are never apart from us. They are always in that moment, in
Yeah.
that space. Yes. Does someone want to say something?
I think when you suddenly think of somebody that's passed, it's because they're right around you.
I believe that. I
They're
learned that.
visiting you. Yeah.
That's very, very true.
Mhm.
I have to agree 100%.
Janet, can I mention one thing that happened just this past Sunday? Tracy Pope, who was a teacher at Cabrillo Middle School, and she had been our union president for a long time. And I'd been the union representative all those years, so I knew her not like super well, but she always just ran those meetings, just very organized and very bright, light. And so she just passed away on Sunday. I just know it was sudden, that, what it was. But
Oh, wow.
so just wanted to honor her and for her years of service to the union, to all the teachers in Santa Clara.
Thank you. Oh, that's devastating.
Yeah.
I think I've known her. I did not know she died.
Yeah.
Okay, let us honor her. We honor Tracy, and we invite her here. Because when we invite them, my friends, they know that we are honoring them, and they know that we are connecting with them in the different way that we can connect. And actually, you, Kathleen, have maybe helped her journey a little bit, because her journey just happened. Her journey.
Yeah, very recent.
Right, it's very recent. So thank you. Thank you for allowing us to do that. So this action step that we did, just this act of honoring, how is it setting with you to be able to say the names, to be able to honor?
It
It's
really feels
comforting.
good. It's comforting.
Yeah. I agree.
And it takes us out of some of the heartache right now, and the worries.
Yeah.
I always, when Erin comes around me, I'm always happy that she she still cares about me,
Yeah.
you know? So it makes me happy when I think of her. And when she comes to visit, it really makes me happy. I really feel like I'm connecting with her.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
That's a lovely way to comes to visit. We can keep ourselves open to all those in spirit who would lovingly communicate with us and come to us,
Mhm.
reach out and touch us. And we can feel that, and they can feel us.
Yes. Beautifully said, Tom. And I think I first learned this from you, Tom, about that golden thread that connects us, that is symbolized by the Sempa Soce. I never say that name right. I'm working on it. That golden bridge that brings us together. And they are better
Well,
for it.
when I was a kid, I grew up Catholic, and they always had a ritual at the mortuary. And when I would go in to pray for the person, I would have a sense of them, what was in their consciousness, whether they were happy, whether they were sad. And for a while, I thought I was imagining that, but after a while, I realized I was just picking it up. It was the energy that they were projecting to the people that came to spend the last rites with them. And it was always all the more rewarding for that. But there's the other side is always open to us, always.
Yes. Thank you for that. And I would just invite us for a moment, if we could, to just, as Tom so beautifully said, just to take a moment, take a nice deep breath, and just go inside your heart hotel for a moment, where all of your loved ones live, whether they are on this side or on the other side. And I want you to see if there's a message that one of them has for you in the difficulties of this season. So let us just close our eyes, take a deep breath, and go to your heart. Go to your heart. And see and feel and hear what it is that they have to give you. They have a gift for you. They have a piece of wisdom, a piece of comfort or love. And just allow yourself in this quiet to receive that message now.
The message that I got was, you could be there for me, and I would not be.
Can you say that again, Tom? I couldn't quite hear it.
And the message I got was, do you think I could be there for you as you are there for me?
Oh, amazing. The
Well, it's a
infinity.
two-way street in infinity, and it's like a giant curtain opens, allows us to move through it. It's like getting onto a stage for a moment
Mhm.
to be others who are on that stage, and then return to a regular consciousness. They honor us for our work and doing.
Janet,
Yes.
I got a message for someone else. So I think it's for Mary and Tom. And are you there, Mary?
Cheers.
Are you there, Mary? I think I have a
Yes.
message for you. And it was, I felt your two children have been very, very close through all this time with their children in your home, that they're just like, I could see those two faces just layered over your home. And they're drawing the way that you're parenting their children. It's a healing for some things they missed way back when. And it's like they're just drawing it, protecting, and they're also protecting you, your safety through this time. But they're also very much a part of the guardianship of the house. And they are drawing so much nurturing for themselves too. So it's a whole family healing that's going on while you're all sheltered in.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much, Lynn.
We're conscious of that energy in our house, and we're really blessed by it.
Thank you.
It's just
Thank
like, times when you were working, or maybe they missed something. Now it's all being shared back with them as they protect you. It's very good.
Thank you. Wow.
Thank you.
And you're, I'm sorry, one last thing. You were all one big close family in Ireland, and that family has returned.
We've been to Ireland 4 times. Sorry.
Well, yes, yeah.
So, my friends, take the messages that you have received. Take the messages that you have gotten and fill up your cup, your heart cup, full of love and healing and connection with those that you love, and knowing that you can call upon this energy anytime you need to. And if you wish, hold that good thought and do something fun in memory of them. So maybe something that they love doing, why don't you do it? Make a promise that you'll do it in the next couple of days, that you'll just make that promise to do it. And we want you to hold your heart gently in this season, because as we go from fall to winter, it can sometimes be more difficult, and given all that we're going through. So be extra gentle with yourself. Be extra gentle with yourself.
Janet,
Yes.
could I share the message I got?
Absolutely.
I got a message from Erin, and she said, "Eat the damn cookies."
Oh my gosh, I love it.
When I went to visit her in Chandler, we made cookies. We made special cookies, because she used to make the butter with the marijuana and everything. So she used it in cooking. And so
amazing.
we made these cookies, and I have them in my freezer. And I don't want to eat them because they remind me of her and that day that we had together making them and how much fun it was.
Yeah.
So when she said, and right now I'm in a lot of pain, and I'm not taking pain medication for it, but so sometimes I take these little gummies, but she's saying, eat the damn cookies, because they're there.
That's
it was
great.
very funny. Yeah, just like
I am so glad you got that message, Sherry. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So remember, my friends, if you can and if you have the ability, I would offer that you donate to our wonderful UCM family, that if you're so inspired by tonight, and that you join us for future events we're having, and invite your family and friends, and know that we are here for you. We are here for you. We're a huge community of support. And in between, we are here. Call us up. Let us connect. I want to thank, everyone that has made this possible tonight. My beautiful co-host Mary and Tom, by default. I'm so glad you brought Tom in, Mary. And to each and every one of you that has had the courage to explore this really tender topic tonight, you know, but let us reconnect with what is good and sweet in our life, and let us bring it close to us, and let us remember our ancestors and know that we are not alone.
Thank you for a very meaningful talk, the two of you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Amen.
This has been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one thing to say. Eat the damn cookies.
Okay, Sherry,
Remember-
I'll be checking up on you and making sure you're
All
eating those
right.
cookies.
Absolutely. So
Thank you,
remember to do
everyone.
your homework. Do your homework, something good and fun and decadent.
Oh, I thought maybe the homework
That's
was
for
to
you.
eat the cookies.
You can eat those too. Absolutely. That's definitely, definitely on the list. Take care,
Okay.
my friends.
Yeah, everyone, good night.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.